He is a tailor more terrifying than a demon. Select overweight girls weighing over 120, start sewing their own dresses with their skins. He was called Buffalo Bill by the police. But the police have no clue about him. I haven't found any valid clues. So he was ready to send a young and beautiful intern agent Ruth. Consult with another demon, Hannibal. Hannibal was once a top criminal psychoanalyst. He has a very high IQ, elegant demeanor. Because another hand skilled in cooking human flesh has been locked up in a mental hospital, the officer believes that Hannibal, Buffalo and Bill belong to the same kind of people. I should be able to get the clue of Buffalo Bill from his mouth, but because all the male detectives they sent out before were turned away, that's why I thought of asking Ruth to give it a try. More importantly, Hannibal hasn't seen a woman in 8 years. Learn to like, I don't know, how to face the wall and think twice. Under the guidance of the dean, he walked through the terrifying dark corridor, finally met the legendary ogre Hannibal, although he seems polite, like a gentleman. But Ruth is still very cautious. In the head-on confrontation and psychological game between the two, Uncle Bar saw at a glance that Ruth was a newcomer who had not yet been confirmed. Based solely on accent and clothing, I inferred his background and family background. Ruth attempted to shift the topic to the case itself, but the pace of the conversation has already been controlled by Uncle Bar. Ruth could only silently leave without any gain. Unexpectedly, he was provoked by the words of a group of crazy people next door, just when Ruth was at a loss. Called back by Uncle Bar, as a gentleman, he was angry at his fellow inmate's behavior, and tell him a clue to feel ironic. Let him reflect on himself. Go find your former patient, Miss Murphy. After Ruth returned to the police station, sir, just give him a call. The madman who provoked him in the mental hospital has already bitten himself to death. The guard only saw Uncle Bar talking to him before he died. This shows how sharp Hannibal's mouth is. Meanwhile, Ruth also reported to the officer, due to the destruction of most of the patient information before Uncle Bar was arrested, so he didn't find any relevant records of Murphy. But we found a warehouse called Ourselves. Thinking of Uncle Bar saying it made him reflect on himself, it must be related to this clue. Sure enough, Ruth, it was found that the person who rented this warehouse many years ago was Murphy, and found a person wearing heavy makeup in a jar in the warehouse, a head with a beard on it. He quickly brought this clue with him. Find Uncle Bar again. Uncle Bar didn't keep it either. Tell him that the owner of that head is Miss Murphy, and he was killed by Buffalo Bill. This means that Hannibal must know Buffalo Bill, but I want to get information about Buffalo Bill. Uncle Bar also proposed conditions. Only by transferring oneself to a prison where you can see trees and water, he will help solve the case, because he extremely dislikes the dean here, and urge Ruth to quickly seek instructions from her superiors, because Buffalo Bill may have found his next target. The next day the police retrieved a female body from the water, chubby figure, naked all over. 2 large pieces of rhombic skin were also peeled off from the back. It's just unbearable, without a doubt. This is Buffalo Bill's masterpiece. Ruth also found a bug in the victim's mouth, passing through insects. Expert analysis reveals that this is a type of bug called skeleton bill. This type of moth often only lives in Asia. How did it appear in the United States and ran into someone's mouth? It's obvious. This is Buffalo Bill's eyes went in, and he is likely raising this insect. Meanwhile, Buffalo Bill catches another overweight girl, throw it into the dry well in the basement. Prepare to starve for a few days. When the skin relaxes a bit, it can be peeled off to sew the dress. But the identity of this girl is not simple. Her mother is an important legislator. Hence, this case has attracted widespread attention. Even the girl's mother requested the water buffalo through television. Bill just needs to release his daughter, can meet any of her conditions. Under pressure, Ruth's third visit to Hannibal. He brought a forged agreement. As long as Uncle Bar assists in rescuing the senator's daughter, the senator will transfer him to a scenic mental hospital. Not only do we have books to read, I can also go on vacation to the island for 1 week every year. There is no reason to refuse this condition for Uncle Bar, but she's more interested in Ruth's past. So I want to use Buffalo Bill's psychological test to write the worst childhood memory of Juan Ruth. Ruth's greatest pain is the loss of her mother at a young age. At the age of 10, my father died on duty again. As an orphan, he could only stay at his aunt's house. But in less than 3 months, he just left there, growing up in a welfare institution. As an exchange, Uncle Bar analyzed Buffalo Bill's criminal psychology to Ruth. The reason why he wanted to put a pupa in the victim's mouth. I want to complete the transformation from a cocoon to a butterfly, because she suffered long-term abuse from her stepmother since childhood, left a deep impression of women in his memory. It's the thinking of the strong. So he wanted to change himself. Your gender becomes strong. But all 3 hospitals, he went to refuse Bill's surgery request. So he went to the extreme, to complete transformation alone. But their conversation was overheard by the dean. After Ruth left, the dean exposed the lie that Ruth brought about the transfer, because he has already contacted the congressman himself. Just tell Uncle Bar the real name of Buffalo Bill. The senator agreed to transfer him. The dean's thoughts have already been understood by Uncle Bar. He only told the dean Buffalo Bill's surname. Name. I need to personally inform the congressman. At the same time, his eyes were fixed on the dean's cylinder. Seems to be planning something. Soon, Uncle Bar was arranged to meet with the congressman. He told everything about Buffalo Bill. Subsequently, he was temporarily detained in court. At the same time, Ruth has also come here. He found out that the name Uncle Bar told the senator was actually a chemical name. To get Buffalo Bill's real name, he found Uncle Bar again, but Uncle Bar wants to know why he ran out after only staying at his aunt's house for 3 months. Ruth had to continue telling her story. He discovered a pair of lambs being slaughtered one morning. He couldn't bear to open the sheepfold. Wanna let go of the other lambs, but the lambs stood in place. I don't even know how to escape. Hans. He picked up a lamb and ran out, but it hasn't gone far yet. Was stopped by the police. My uncle also sent him to the welfare home as a result, and the lamb couldn't escape the fate of being slaughtered in the end. Since then, when Ruth sleeps, often awakened by the screams of that lamb, after listening to Ruth's story, Uncle B's eyes gradually moistened. He understood that Ruth wanted to urgently rescue the senator's daughter. It's to contain the screams of that lamb in my heart, and the daughter of the senator is like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. But Uncle Bar still didn't tell her Buffalo Bill's real name. Just tell him. Buffalo Bill's crime motive is greed. It's often about the people and things around us. At this point, the dean led someone to find Ruth, and forcibly took him away from Uncle Bar and returned the file. Gently touched Ruth's fingers, and said goodbye. But Ruth didn't know that it meant goodbye forever, because Uncle Bar is brewing his escape plan. Uncle Bar requested an extra meal at night. Have the guards bring a rare lamb chop. And Uncle Bar spat out the dean's pen accessory from his mouth, and sandwiched between the fingers. After the guards handcuffed him up, he quickly untied the handcuffs with a pen accessory. When the guards come in, the moment I put down the dinner plate, I was handcuffed by Uncle. Next, another guard was also cut off by Uncle Bar. Then he picked up the baton and killed the handcuffed prison guard alive. After finishing all this, he gracefully enjoyed the process. After a long time, numerous police officers downstairs discovered an abnormality in the elevator. Then came the sound of gunfire. This made everyone's nerves tense instantly, so the captain bravely took a few team members upstairs to check. But I haven't seen anyone yet. I was already scared and sweating profusely. This is the sense of oppression from Uncle Bar. When they rush into the room where Uncle Bar is being held, I saw only one guard being ripped open and pierced, falling in the form of a moth. The other one was seriously injured and fell to the ground, on the verge of death, and the face has been destroyed, and Hannibal disappeared from sight. The captain immediately ordered a blockade of the entire building. At the same time, send the seriously injured guards for rescue. Unexpectedly, a few drops of blood dripped down from the top of the elevator. This made them realize that Uncle Bar was right up there. Hans. They're preparing to capture Uncle Bar alive. I didn't expect to open the ceiling. It was the guard who fell down, and those who were sent to the hospital for rescue. It's Uncle Bar himself. He took off the guard's face, killed the medical staff, successfully escaped. Ruth also successfully found a breakthrough from Uncle B's prompt. Since the motive of Buffalo Bill's crime is greed, and greed comes from people and things around us, so there must be someone he knows among these victims. Hans. Ruth followed this lead to investigate the first victim's home. Sure enough, a garment with a diamond pattern sewn on it was found in the victim's room. Based on the previously discovered body, 2 large pieces were cut off from the back. Diamond skin Jew instantly understood everything. Buffalo Bill must be a tailor. He is making himself a gift from a woman's skin. Thought I was wearing clothes with female skin. Can complete transformation into a woman. The reason why he chose a fat girl to take action. It's because it's easier to peel off fat girls after starving them thin. However, but the superior said, they have found out the real name and address of Buffalo Bill according to the name provided by Hannibal. We are on our way to capture now, and asked Ruth to continue investigating the relationship between the victim and Buffalo Bill. Subsequently, he found the victim's best friend. I learned from her that the victim worked as a sewing worker for an old lady before her death. Meanwhile, the officer also came to Buffalo Bill's residence. They pretended to be couriers and knocked on the door. When Buffalo Bill opened the door, but it was Ruth who came. Of course, sir. What they found was a fake lead. Ruth didn't know at first that the man in front of her was Buffalo Bill. When he came in, found a table full of lines, instantly understood everything. So he raised his pistol, let him hold his head in both hands. But Buffalo Bill hid in the basement by taking a sour seat. Ruth quickly chased after her, but the basement is like a maze. If you are not careful, we'll get lost. Ruth's 7 turns and 8 turns. Coincidentally, I found the daughter of the imprisoned congressman, but the situation is critical. He didn't rescue the girl immediately, but continued to search for water. Buffalo Bill didn't expect the lights in the basement to suddenly go out. Ruth's eyes were pitch black, completely turned blind. The entire atmosphere instantly became suffocating. When Buffalo Bill has had enough, when preparing to kill Ruth, unexpectedly, the sound of him moving his pistol and hitting the hammer, let Ruth discover, and pull the trigger in advance. Kill Buffalo Bill on the spot. Through this case, Ruth successfully became a regular, becoming a true federal agent, at his celebration banquet. But I received a mysterious phone call. It was Hannibal who had escaped on the phone. Then he hung up the phone, because he's going to enjoy dinner. As the camera zooms out, the object that Uncle Bar wants to use is his annoying old friend and Dean. That's the end of the movie. After the release of this silent lamb, World War I deity won countless awards. Metaphors about this movie. I won't repeat it much. Next, we will continue to explain the sequel of this film to everyone. Silent Lamb 2, also known as Hannibal,